Tonight's Cowboy Super Bowl report is brought to you by Gibson's Discount Center. It's Friday. We're just a couple of days away from the Super Bowl, Super Bowl V, between the Cowboys and the Colts. The 40 men are ready for the Dallas Cowboys, and there is one who has almost been forgotten. We'll talk with last year's Rookie of the Year after this message from Gibson's Discount Center. One year ago at this time, Calvin Hill was the rage of the football nation. Rookie of the Year, second leading rusher in the National Football League. Now, just a couple of days before the Super Bowl, he's almost a forgotten man, having lost his job because of injuries and the excellence of Dwayne Thomas. It has been, as you might suspect, a year of great frustration for Calvin Hill. Calvin, I know that this must have been a year of frustration for you. That's a supposition of mine, but assuming that it's true, can you put the words of frustration, or can you put the frustration into words?
Well, it's funny. Last year when I had a good personal season, I said, the cake without the frosting is no good. And this year I got the frosting with no cake. So, maybe next year I can put both of them together. It's been frustrating from a personal standpoint. I think it would have been even more frustrating had we not gotten into the playoffs like we did and then come this far. So this sort of takes away a little of the frustration. My main thing now is being ready, in case I'm called upon. And after that's over, to get myself ready for next year, which is going to be my year to redeem myself, I hope.
It may be unfair to ask you to make a comparison between your talents and those of Dwayne Thomas's, but are you a Dwayne Thomas fan in the limited area that you could be?
Yeah. I knew Dwayne before before all of this happened, and he and I are pretty close friends. And sounds almost cliche-ish, but if it had to happen. If this had to happen, and it had to happen to me, I'm glad Dwayne did it. There are a lot of considerations. For example, Dwayne gets certain bonuses, I think, for doing certain, gaining a certain amount of yards, and I think he achieved those bonuses. I think, in terms of that Rookie of the Year thing, I think it was, sort of sad and maybe bad that, he came on so late in the season because, they take the voting so early. I think maybe Dallas ought to give him the bonus anyhow that they give you for making Rookie of the Year. I think he's a heck of a back, and it's a good thing. I think, I'm a Calvin Hill fan, but I'm still a team fan too, and I want the team to be as strong as possible.
Calvin, do you consider yourself injury prone? You've been hurt. You were hurt last year and again this year, brought down by really nagging injuries that seem to persist. Do you think you're injury prone?
I don't know. I've been giving that a lot of consideration. And even thinking about what is injury prone. I've never been hurt as much, I guess, as I have these last 2 years, and I haven't even finished the season, as a matter of fact. But I haven't had any serious injuries. I guess my knees and my ankles, and as long as I can keep those together, I'm going to keep trying. I think maybe I was a little too reckless a couple times this year, and I'll learn from past experience next year. I won't do the same thing.
There are many options for Calvin Hill. He might be moved to tight end, he might be traded, or he might end up as a second-string running back or a first-string running back with the Dallas Cowboys. I think possibly he wouldn't mind being traded to the Baltimore Colts, but that's just one of many options. At any rate, the future looms large. This is Vern Lundquist with the Dallas Cowboys, Channel 8 Sports in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Tonight's Cowboys Super Bowl report is brought to you by Gibson's Discount Centers. The Dallas Cowboys have been in Florida for the better part of 1 week now. Some reflections on how that week has gone and their reaction to the preparation of Super Bowl V after this message from Gibson's Discount Centers. Rather than a week of fun in the sun, it has been a week of primarily intense preparations for the Dallas Cowboys during the 7 days that they have spent in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Oh, true, we've had the beautiful surroundings here, and we've also had the beach that's been a part of so many of our background reports that we've sent you during the week. But for the most part, the Cowboys have been quite intense as they prepared for their first encounter in Super Bowl V. The reaction to the press has been just unbelievable. There have been some 25 to 30 television stations who have been here on location constantly throughout the afternoon. 200 or 300 writers who are permanently assigned to this week and who have been a part of the reaction to what has gone on. Perhaps on our half-hour show just a few moments ago, you heard Craig Morton say that he was getting telephone calls from the press at 7:30 in the morning. So it's been difficult. But one has been struck with the loose attitude, primarily of the Cowboys, that they have maintained throughout all of the harassment that has been a part of the week. But I have no doubt that now the tension is beginning to get to them. We are filming this, of course, in the afternoon. It has been 7 days since we arrived. You are watching it at night, which means that the Cowboys are probably thinking their own private thoughts now as they await Super Bowl V. As we film this, I can't help but look down on the beach and see Mike Ditka, the Cowboy tight end, standing on the shores of the Atlantic, no doubt thinking his own private thoughts about the Baltimore Colts and what his responsibilities will be tomorrow. It has been that way all week long. Not a week of joyous fun, but a week of pensive collection of thoughts and a week of intensive preparation of what is to take place in the Orange Bowl in Miami tomorrow afternoon. No one knows, of course, how well the Cowboys will do. One has a hunch that they will do well because they have done so well in the previous 7 weeks under unbelievable pressure. But regardless of the outcome in tomorrow's game, it has been 11 years to Super Sunday, and they are here. This is Vern Lundquist, Channel 8 Sports, with the Cowboys in Miami, Florida.
This car is called the Prairie Schooner. It's powered by a Ford engine and was built from scratch by its owner. It's one of the 214 entries in the Texas Autorama Car Show with custom cars, pre-war automobiles, custom bikes, and just about everything you can think of. Let's take a look at some of the action and some of the wild colors. Malcolm Landis at the Custom Car Show for Channel 8 News on the Move.
Well, I think more likely, in my opinion, we need a regional penitentiary worse than we need a regional jail. A regional penitentiary, with the writs and such as we have today, and the many times we bring them back from the penitentiary, we have men on the road practically all the time bringing them back because of new interpretations of laws. Now, a federal penitentiary, a regional penitentiary in this area would alleviate some of this condition and would also alleviate some of the trouble we're having with crowded jails. Frankly, I think men on appeal should be put in the penitentiary. They've already been convicted. And federally, they do this in federal prisons. But the state of Texas has never been able to do this in our state penitentiaries yet. This would help jails all over the state of Texas.
We are advocating that we call for our charter to require weekly council meetings. We meet now every other week. We think that the more regular meetings are necessary to properly conduct the city's business. We're asking for the requirement that special elections be called always to fill any council vacancies. Right now we have a council vacancy. The council could fill it by appointing someone to that vacancy, but they hesitate to substitute their will for that of the community as a whole. This amendment would require the special election to be held. Then another change would be to require runoffs in elections where the candidate with the most votes might be short of 50% of the votes, but if he happened to be the top candidate of, say, several in the race, he would be elected. We think that the majority will should be expressed here and that runoff should be required where no candidate has more than 50% of the total vote. And then finally, and the issue attracting the most interest, of course, is our proposal to expand our city council by adding 2 additional members.
Yes and no. If you compare Japanese military buildup with Communist Chinese, Taiwan's, and South Koreans military buildups, yes. For instance, our military fighters, Air Forces have a far better fighter than Communist Chinese. But if you compare Japanese military buildup with U.S., just a glass of beer, almost nothing.
Japan is building again militarily, and you are in the Far East, and you are Oriental. With the anti-American sentiment growing in your country, can you ever once again see us being on opposite sides of the fence?
Well, I don't think the Japanese government will spend more than 1% of annual national income for the purpose of defense, military defense. And I don't think the Japanese military role in Asia will sharply increase.
You cannot see yourself becoming offensive again?
Well, extreme minority in the Japanese people advocates, but I am certainly against it, and I'm sure, almost sure, majority will be against it for maybe 20 years or 30 years.
You pointed out that the Bond election almost failed because there wasn't effective leadership.
Yes, sir.
What would you have done differently in the last election?
I believe that had I been mayor of Fort Worth at that time, and incidentally, I did attend the neighborhood meetings when I saw the city manager there, no members of the council, and never the mayor. I would, and I think there will be another bond issue. I would hope that the people would be attentive, a better sale job to show them what we're going to do with their money. I think people have lost confidence in the council, and not the council per se, but the leadership of the council, that they will do with those bond monies what was intended, and I can prove that.
Our first requirement and objective is to have a safe system. If our bid is higher because of that, then the airport board will have to make that judgment. And they have engaged a very qualified research organization, Battelle Memorial Institute, to write the specification and to analyze the bids. And the airport board have several highly qualified engineering people on the staff. I think they'll make a fair evaluation, and if our system is more expensive, I'm not saying it will be, but it may be. If it's safer, I think I'm sure they'll go that way.
As you heard this morning, some beautiful prayers. I can assure you that the time and the honor that has been mine to spend in the House and in the Senate, I have heard some of the most beautiful prayers I believe that any person has ever had the opportunity to hear. With a full measure of pomp and ceremony, the inaugural activities have been unfolding today here in the capital city of Austin. The day began with a prayer breakfast, sponsored by Governor Preston Smith and the state officials' prayer breakfast, which is a regular association. At that session, the governor, Attorney General Crawford Martin, and other state officials called for divine guidance and for courage and comfort from above as they face the tasks ahead of them in their respective offices. At noon, the scene shifted here to the state capitol building, the steps on the south side being the place of the platform for the actual oath-taking and the inaugural addresses. Chief Justice Robert Calvert administered the oath first to Lieutenant Governor Ben Barnes and then to Governor Preston Smith, who, like Barnes, is now beginning his second term as Texas governor. Both men, in their inaugural addresses, looked forward to the challenges and looked forward to their hopes in the next 2 years. Next, Governor Smith and Lieutenant Governor Ben Barnes were honored in an inaugural parade here in downtown Austin. Thousands of persons lining the streets all the way down the downtown portion of the city of Austin. Tonight it'll all be capped off with a big inaugural ball plus 5 other inaugural galas at various hotels and other locations around Austin. Then tomorrow it's down to work. Governor Smith will outline his proposed budget and the taxes with which he proposes to pay for that budget. And at that time, the legislators themselves will start in writing programs not only for financing government, but also revamping welfare and redistricting and the many other things you've already heard about they're going to try to do this year. This is Roger McDonald, Channel 8 News on the Move in Austin.
I think it's maybe one of excitement in a way to know that our government is continuing to try to do something to get these men out of there. After 5 years, I've learned to just remain cool when things like this happen because I've gotten excited an awful lot of times in the last 5 years. But it's going to be a glorious day when they do have a successful raid and bring some men out.
Does this give you more hope?
It certainly does. I was quite pleased to hear it.
Residents are unhappy about air pollution coming from smoke coming from these businesses. James Webb of the Fort Worth Pollution Control Commission says these businesses are in compliance with the law. He said there are 3 basic ways that are used to sample the air: the opacity method, measuring the density of the air, the upwind and downwind method, and the stack method, where emissions are directly sampled coming from the smokestack. Mr. Webb said 2 of these methods cannot be used, and there is a cost problem on the 3rd.
The existing regulations really is quite free with agricultural processes, and that is to say that we cannot evaluate them as the same as we would a foundry or a steel plant or an asphalt batching plant. The law is different and it reads differently. It excludes the opacity and the up and downwind sampling at this time.
What about the stack method?
Yes, this is what we will be involved in, is actually stack sampling. Whether or not that the agency per se will do the stack sampling or whether or not the company will be charged with this responsibility, this has not been cited clearly at this time.
Mr. Webb and representatives of the companies in question will meet with residents tonight. Their concern is primarily with the air they breathe, not in the law and its enforcement or with the profit and loss statement of these companies. Jerry Park, Channel 8 News on the Move, Fort Worth.